My name is Dallas. I'm living in Brisbane. I'm a sales rep. I have a wife and one daughter.
And I'm Olivia. I'm a learning support officer at a high school, and we love it up here in Brisbane.
We originally became members back in 2021. So we ended up buying 3 properties pretty much in the space of 3 weeks. So yeah, it was pretty full on, but it was a fairly seamless sort of run for us. Like everyone was good and it made it very easy for us.
So the reason we got into Freedom Property was to try and create a bit of a legacy for our daughter, obviously to increase our wealth with the desire to maybe retire a little bit sooner than the norm. But generally, it's just to allow our daughter to learn another way of making money so we don't have to work so hard. We can enjoy life a little bit more.
I don't know if we had so much challenges previously, but I think it just became apparent to Olivia and myself that if we kept doing what we were doing, our retirement wasn't going to be very wealthy or very flexible like we wanted. And for me, freedom is a very powerful word in that we have the ability and the freedom to do whatever we want. And this is the vessel for doing it, I believe. So we didn't have any major issues or anything like that, but we did have a realization that we weren't going to have enough come retirement.
And we also knew we wanted to do something, but we probably didn't know what that was or where to go or where to start. So freedom certainly helped us get through that.
For me, it was just probably Scott and Liana. I watched some of their testimonials and where they'd come from and where they are now. That struck a chord with me because that's where I want to be later on in life as well. And that's one of our passions is food and the other one is travel. And also we want to be able to look after our daughter later on in life as well.
So we have purchased 3 properties. First 2 started back in 2021 with our property strategist Nelson, who has been absolutely fantastic. Can't speak highly enough of him. Just a great person, but also the rest of the team that we have as well. Sometimes there's been a couple of challenges with the developers, but Freedom has been the people that have stepped in, and we never have had to deal with that. They've done it for us, which has made it really easy, a lot less stressful than if we were to do it by ourselves. So having somebody do it on our behalf just makes the whole process a lot easier. And their knowledge of where to buy, when to buy, it's just they've done the hard yards. We just have to reap the benefits from it now, pretty much. So we have settled on 2 of those properties. The third one we should settle on very soon, and everything seems to be going really well. We've got all of them into rentals as well, which has gone really well. Every company that we've been dealing with seems to be easy to deal with. We haven't had any challenges. Everyone's just really friendly and helpful, always gets back to us. I don't think there's an easier way of doing it than what we are now.
With Nelson at the start, when we first did our first property, he just got back to us when he said he was going to get back to us and had about 3 or 4 properties for us to pick from. And basically it got down to return on investments and yields and stuff like that. So that side was already looked after. And the part that I really liked about Freedom as well is that Liana was an actuary. So there is a lot of numbers put behind it. And that's the part I like about it as well. It's not just a guesswork or we like this area because of these reasons. So that's what I enjoyed about it. Yeah.
When we first bought our properties, we lived in Victoria. So the fact that we brought interstate didn't really worry us. I think we put our trust in the process. The fact that we do now live in Brisbane, quite close to 2 of our properties, is just a coincidence more than anything. But we do still have 1 property that's due to settle in Melbourne. The fact that we don't really have a plan to see these properties, they're not for us to live in. They are simply there for us to make money. It's all about the process. It's not about whether we like it or not. Is this going to be the most profitable based on what the data states? And I think that's been really important for us, regardless of where it actually is located around the country.
So we've got 1 property out at Ripley, so that's in Queensland. So it actually had an evaluation done the other day on it. So it's gone up somewhere in the vicinity of 150 to 200,000 in growth. We have another one that's in Raceview, which is in Queensland as well. It is looking at about 100,000 in capital growth as well. So in both of those, we've been very happy with the capital growth and the equity that we've got in those properties.
And in such a short time. The build process has actually taken longer. Ripley property has only been rented for just over 6 months, and the Raceview property has only been for about a month. And already we've got almost 300 grand inequity.
I hoped that this was the result that we would get eventually, but I didn't realise, as Olivia said earlier, that that was going to happen so quickly. So the amount of growth that we've got in those properties so quickly was amazing to me. And to be honest, I didn't think at the time that we were going to be lucky enough to get that type of return as quickly as we did.
There are a lot of scams and quick money making opportunities out there. So for me, there were times when it was, is it real? Particularly in those initial stages, because you pay a little bit of money to become a member, but then you didn't really know what you were paying for, essentially. You had an idea, but there was still that sort of skepticism of, am I being taken for a ride? Or is this real? It wasn't until sort of that first settlement that you started to get letters from other places other than Freedom. So you talked to a lawyer, you got letters from the councils for rates and things like that, that you like sort of breathe that sigh of relief that this is real. We haven't just been scammed and we've got something else to add to our profile, put our name against. Whilst we felt fairly confident in the process initially in the whole company, I think just because there is so much you've got to be aware of out there at the moment, there's always that hint of doubt. But obviously now that's well and truly gone. We're very comfortable. We're very happy now. But yeah, just initially it was a bit of a, is this the right thing that we should be doing?
I had a look through a lot of the internet, and a lot of them were like red lights. I had a bit of a feeling about Scott and Liana that just sort of gave me a bit of ease. I actually asked Liv, I just went up to her one night and said, "Can I have some money?" And she's just like, "Yeah, sure." And then she actually ended up watching all the testimonials. So she watched it and then she was at ease. But yeah, it's still at the same time for me as well, is this like, the old adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Well, it ended up being that way, that it is too good. It's amazing what we've actually come up with. And now just looking at our future is so much brighter for doing it. But at first, I was a bit skeptical that maybe this thing was too good, but it's turned out to be really good.
So Bontu's been really great with our communication. So she's always got the emails coming at the right time, letting us know that settlement is coming up soon. So it would be a good idea if you started getting this, this, and this in step process. And she always CCs in everybody that needs to be CC'd into the emails. So basically, while she's saying to us, it's a great idea to get this and this and this done, we don't really then have to follow it up because she's already put in Damien, our financial person. So he knows that it's coming up just by getting that email as well. So then soon after Bontu's email, we get the things we need from him. So it's a real easy process. And anytime we had questions, she was there. She answered them as quickly as she could. If she didn't know, she would find out. There was one instance where with our Raceview property, she called up and just checked how everything was going. And I mentioned how we don't really hear a lot from our property manager of Raceview. So she got in contact with them and said it'd be really great if you could give out more information to your property owners. So she was great. She spoke on our behalf and she's just always on the ball, ready to go.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, she makes sure that all the ducks are in a row, so to speak. So we don't have any surprises at the end of the day. And whatever else we've ever done, it's always been pretty much a set and forget. I mean, there's things that we have to do, but from that side of things, it's always been a set and forget with all the properties. But she has been very good with getting everything in on time and when we need to put any of our papers or any paperwork in.
I actually had someone from Queensland, ended up going to the same school as my daughter, contact me and say that we saw your video on the Freedom website and we were just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about it and why did you go with Freedom Property Investors. So I did, obviously, and then I just said to her, like, just give it a try. Yes, you pay the outlay, but you've got the guarantee that if it's not for you, you get your money back. So there's nothing to lose. So it was interesting that I actually had someone specifically say they saw our testimonial and asked specifically why Freedom. And I just believe it's a bit of a win-win, risk-free process that you don't know unless you give it a try. And I think it's one of the best places to give it a try. It's not going to be for everyone, but it was certainly for us.
Yeah, I think exactly the same. I mean, there is the cashback guarantee if it's not for you, but if you don't do something, what are you going to do? And if you don't start early, everyone knows the property prices around Australia are getting higher and higher. And the other thing that Scott does as well is he's able to get in at the grassroots level and actually go in there and negotiate for some better deals. So if you're not going to do it now, are you going to look back in 2 years' time and then regret it? So I think you just jump in, have a look at it, and go from there. Yeah.